Greetings, travelers, and welcome back to Tales from the Enchanted Forest podcast with your hosts, Fox and Sparrow.
Hola! Hello, Fox. How's it going for you?
Good. I mean, I hate to be a buzzkill, but the weather has been horrible because it's been too hot.
Ugh. 'Tis the way of the summer season, I suppose.
It's either been too hot or it's been thunderstorms that are kind of like fake thunderstorms because it'll rain very quickly and there'll be thunder and lightning and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden it'll be back to being really humid. So enjoying that on the Europe side.
Have you been watching any more of the World Cup?
No. I mean, when we were doing our bets, I bet that Canada would win the whole thing, so that was it for me. Maybe we jinxed them with our episode last time. That was our fault. Sorry, guys.
No, but we did win another game after that, and I think we did really well against Morocco. So, I don't think we have anything to be ashamed about. But yeah, it was always going to be a long shot. Yeah, for that last game, I finally bit the bullet and decided just to pay for the Sports Network package. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna watch the game. And then of course we immediately lost then, and that was fun.
Oh no.
But now I'm actually having a lot more fun watching the World Cup because I have no horse in the race, so I'm like, yay, go team.
You're like, whoever wins. No skin off my back.
I can switch who I'm cheering for on the fly and suddenly my team is winning. It's great. I love it. But anyways, we're not here to talk about sports. Surprise! This is not a sports podcast. So today's stories come from Lilla Green's 1979 book called Tales from Hispanic Lands. As usual, I have been on the lookout for another fun animal tale. And travelers, let me tell you, when I read this book, I found a couple of tales that were so wonderfully silly that it felt like they should be Looney Tunes cartoons. Did you ever watch Looney Tunes growing up at all, Fox?
I did. I watched Looney Tunes, and then we also watched Baby Looney Tunes. I don't know if that's something that you watched.
No.
When they were all it was their baby versions, and they were all in a kindergarten. And then it was I don't know if you've ever seen the when Disney, I think, used to do the chibi shorts.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of felt like that, but because I don't know if you remember when Avatar: The Last Airbender came out. They also did chibi episodes, and I don't know if those were official or if they were shorts or if they were fan made, but they were really good. But again, it was all of the main characters in a daycare, and that's what the Looney Tunes that I remember mainly growing up with. It was either Tom and Jerry or it was the Baby Looney Tunes. Those are the ones I watched. Oh, and Roadrunner. There was a game on PlayStation with Roadrunner, and I remember because there's one level that I never ever I could not figure out how to win it. It was unplayable because I couldn't figure out what to do on that level. And so I still remember that. There's a Roadrunner game on the PlayStation that somewhere out there. I should probably look that up to see how the game actually ends. Because I remember my siblings and we'd play for hours trying to figure out how to get past this one time. Oh, now I'm mad.
Yeah, and now if that were to happen today, you just look it up online. At that time, you had to ask other kids on the playground if they knew. If they didn't know, you were out of luck. That was it.
Or I remember when you have to go get your dad to come try and do it, and then your dad would just sit there and also try and also be like, I've never done this in my life. I don't know what I'm doing either. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, because video games were still just new. The previous generation hadn't really been exposed to them as much, and just kind of no video game literacy and all that.
Yes.
It's hard. But anyways, yes, all I have to say is this did remind me of Looney Tunes, and it made me kind of go it kind of did that roundabout circle thing where you realize oh, this is probably the type of thing Looney Tunes got inspiration from, when it was making its original idea of it. It's why did it come up with the idea of the Coyote and the Roadrunner kind of being rivals and stuff? Why is the rabbit a trickster? It's oh yeah, we have these folklore characters of the rabbit being a trickster and stuff. So anyways, it just kind of felt like that. So normally we pick two stories from the same country and stuff, but I got these both from the same book. So they're from 2 different countries, which I'll kind of mention as we go into each of them. But it just felt unthemed together. So that's why we're bringing it in this package deal. And, you know, like all good Saturday morning cartoons, they are 2 short stories back to back, sandwiched and sold as one episode.
Oh, wow.
So buckle up, dear travelers. Get your pancakes out for a Saturday morning cartoon special of Tales from the Enchanted Forest.
But on a Wednesday.
Our first story today is The Coyote and the Fox, and this story comes from Mexico. Now, it's important to note that the coyote is known to be incredibly smart, so much so that many consider him to be a magician. Few animals and no humans can do some of the things that he could do. But despite all of the coyote's cleverness, he was often outwitted by smaller creatures than he. For he could not consider that his fellow animals could have any smarts at all.
Y'all are stupid, is what he said.
Right? I feel like reading this, it is what really first made me think of Looney Tunes. Like, this description just matches up with Wile E. Coyote to a T. Mm-hmm. The guy does come up with some crazy plans. Some of them could work, but he never really seems to think that the Roadrunner could actually outsmart him, which is always his big downfall.
It is always the downfall. The hubris.
One day, the coyote was traveling through the countryside when he saw something big in the distance, in the middle of the flat desert. It was so big and grand that he thought it could be a cathedral. But as he got closer, he could tell that it was just a great rock that must have been more than 300 feet tall. Seeing as he was already there, the coyote thought to take a look around. But as he investigated, he heard the sound of a creature scurrying away near the base of the wall. The coyote's ears perked up. He very much liked the idea of eating the creature as a snack after traveling all this way. He quickly followed the sound, and when he turned the corner, he saw a fox pushing up against the rock with all his might. The fox looked to the coyote in relief and said, "Thank goodness you're here. Come quickly and help me hold up this cliff before it falls over and crushes us." What he didn't know was that moments before he arrived, the fox had been enjoying a snooze in the shade. But because foxes always sleep with one eye open, he was able to tell that the coyote was approaching and quickly sprang into action. Of course, the coyote knew none of this. All he knew was the fox was uncharacteristically in great need of help. So he looked up at the top of the great tall cliff, and after a little while, it seemed to be slowly toppling over him. So, with a swift leap, he jumped beside the fox and began to push as hard as he could. The fox thanked him for coming to his aid and exclaimed that it surely would have fallen if he hadn't stepped in at that moment. After some time had passed, the fox loudly complained that they may have to stay there forever to hold up the cliff. The coyote grumbled in agreement, unless of course someone were to come and help them. The fox perked up and declared that he had a great idea. He would go and get help. The coyote was not too impressed and pointed out they both needed to be there to hold up the cliff. Imagine how strong you think you are that you are holding up a cliff from falling over.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the story of Atlas, like the myth of Atlas, where he has to, like, his punishment is that he has to hold up the world.
Yeah.
And then I think it was in Percy Jackson where he tricks them into taking over for him. But I mean, I think Fox could have held up the cliff forever by himself, so.
Yeah, foxes have that super strength. Do they also sleep with one eye open?
No.
No.
No one would dare go after a fox.
No. The fox does describe that that foxes specifically will have one eye open throughout the whole night, but they'll alternate at the midway point, like so halfway through whenever they're sleeping, the one eye will close and the other eye will open. And I liked how the book took the time to explain that to me. Like, okay, great, we're taking care of these eyes. They're getting some sleep. "Don't be silly," the fox said. "I was able to hold up the cliff for a while before you came. Surely with your great strength, you will be able to hold up the cliff for a short time while I go to get help. Otherwise, we will both stay trapped here. Who knows, maybe if we stay here long enough, our feet will grow roots deep into the ground, and then we will never be able to leave." The coyote thought about it and let out a deep sigh. "I suppose I am stronger than you, so go and be quick about it." "Of course, I'll be back in a half an hour," the fox declared. With that, the fox was gone. He happily skipped away and reminded the coyote to keep pushing before leaving earshot. When the coyote heard this, he pushed even harder. He pushed so hard that his arms hurt and his feet dug further into the ground. Half an hour passed, then an hour, then 2 hours, but there was still no sign of the fox. The sun set and the moon rose high in the sky, and the coyote just kept pushing, grunting, and yelling for the fox to return. Eventually, the coyote knew he was at the breaking point, and he could not push for much longer. He took a deep breath, and using the last of his strength, he pushed off against the rock and ran as fast as he could to get away from the falling cliff. At any moment, he expected the cliff to be on top of him, but it never came. After running a half mile, he finally turned back, expecting to see the destruction of the rock. But instead, the big rock was upright and unchanged. The coyote was dumbfounded and couldn't believe what he was seeing. But finally it clicked. He had been bamboozled by the little fox. He was so angry that he jumped up high into the air and chased his tail, cursing the fox for what he had done. And that is the story of the coyote and the fox.
I liked it. It feels like a classic trickster tale with the fox being the trickster.
Yes, exactly. But we really got set up at the beginning that the coyote is this very clever creature, but then he immediately just gets taken for a ride by the fox. And I like how the fox went to such great lengths. Like, he just saw the coyote coming and thought he will probably want to eat me, so we better punish him, like, for that.
Oh, but also it could just be a way for him to be like, I need to get away as fast as possible.
Yeah, no, for sure. Oh, but yeah, it is a funny image, these two little creatures just pushing with all their might up against a rock, and it's like, I just think it's so cute they think they could hold up a giant rock from falling.
Well, they weren't really holding up anything, so at least it worked.
Yeah. Have you ever had that, though, where you look up at something really tall above you and you just get the distinct feeling that it's going to fall on you?
I used to get that when I was surrounded by, like, I don't know, this is very, like, Canadian. I don't know if this, actually, I don't know if this is a very Canadian thing. But on the highway sometimes, you'd have, like, these hills that almost look like they'd just been, like, sliced in half to let this highway go through it.
Yeah.
I always felt like those were about to collapse onto me.
Yeah. Because as I was reading this, I was really thinking, like, what is he thinking here? Like, why is, like, I just kept thinking, is, like, there magic involved? Why does he think it's falling on him? And it was, like, I really had to stop and think about it. It's like, oh, yeah, sometimes that can just be that kind of weird feeling of it happening without it really happening. And just that idea that just little bit of fear that creeps in and just kind of takes hold. It's an interesting thing that got captured in this story.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's just the power of someone, like, convincing you of something.
Yeah.
Just by faking and, convincing him that of this, it's going to fall, the coyote just falls for it.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
Falls for it.
Mm-hmm. So, while our first story reminded me of Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, our next tale reminds me of the most iconic Looney Tunes characters, Bugs Bunny. So our next tale is The King of Leaves, and it comes from Nicaragua. It centers on the character of Uncle Rabbit, and he has a very bad reputation. Like rabbits from other folk tales around the world, this rabbit is a trickster, but he's also known to be a shameless rogue and a bit more of a rascal. This is because he makes trouble for everyone and anyone. He doesn't care what people think or say about him. He continues doing what he does best.
Being unlikable.
Yeah, it's a very fine line for tricksters of being likable for their shenaniganery and then being just a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, people eventually got fed up with his antics. So the king of the land decided something must be done. He tells his advisors that Uncle Rabbit must be dealt with one way or another. So he should be captured and brought to him dead or alive. His advisors discussed amongst themselves and eventually hatched a plan. They knew all the animals came to the watering hole to get water to drink. So they decided they would catch him there. Even if the rabbit saw them waiting for him, he might decide not to go and may very well leave and go to a faraway land instead. Unfortunately for them, Uncle Rabbit was in the nearby bushes and overheard their plan. This gave him a good chuckle as he thought, "Yeah, right. I will drink all the water I want and I will not go away to another land." So he hopped to a nearby village and passed by a shoemaker's shop. He noticed the shoemaker had a very special pair of shoes that must have been for the princess. The rabbit greeted the shoemaker, and much like how we start this podcast, he proceeded to talk about the weather. And in this case, he complained about how hot it was. The shoemaker agreed that it was very, very hot out. And so Uncle Rabbit casually suggested to the shoemaker that he should step inside where it was cool and shady, and where the sun would not burn him. And while he's at it, he should also get himself a cup of cool water, as it will do him good on this very hot day. The shoemaker agreed and went inside the house to get some water. But as soon as he had gone in, Uncle Rabbit took the pretty princess's shoes and hightailed it out of there. As he hopped down the main road, he saw a man coming towards him. He noticed the man was carrying a very large gourd or barrel on his back. The rabbit grinned. He suspected that the man must be carrying a great deal of sweet honey, and that is something that he would very much like. So he quickly dropped one of the pretty shoes in the middle of the road and then hid in a nearby bush. As the man came closer, the rabbit's suspicions were confirmed, as this was indeed a honey merchant, and he was carrying a great deal of honey in the gourd on his back. When the man came across the shoe, he stopped and wondered where the other one could be. He took a moment to look around the area for it, but with no luck, the merchant decided to leave it be. After all, it was not worth picking up one shoe of a pair, so he left it where he found it and continued on his way. But Uncle Rabbit knew what he was doing. He dashed ahead of the merchant and dropped the shoe further down the road and hid in the bushes once more. When the merchant came across the second shoe, he got quite excited. He decided to put the heavy gourd down to give his back a break while he went back to pick up the first shoe. With that, the man ran down the road and Uncle Rabbit was all alone with the sweet, sweet honey. Uncle Rabbit quickly picked up the gourd and scampered off through the woods. Eventually, he stopped in a clearing where there were many dead leaves. There, he ate as much honey as he could until he couldn't eat another bite. As for the rest of the honey, he poured it all over his body until he was covered from head to toe. Ooh, I don't like the sticky texture of honey at all.
No.
So the idea of being covered in head to toe is just so, unnerving for me.
I'm pretty sure this is a torture device. Where I can't remember where it's from, where they cover you in honey, or they cover your face in honey and they let bugs eat you alive. Ugh.
Well, this is self-inflicted, so I hope he's got this worked through.
Yeah, I'm not into this at all.
No, not at all. I was like, okay, steal the pretty shoes. I get it. You want to be styling. But then he, essentially traded it for the honey. You ate it, which I understood, and then you are like, let's take a bath with it? Please, no. Heck no.
No, thank you. Yeah.
So, then he laid down in the dead leaves and proceeded to roll around in them, covering every inch of his body with these dead leaves. And when he stood up, You would never recognize him as a rabbit or any other creature that had been seen before. So, back to the village he went, hippity-hoppity, hippity-hoppity. Everyone stared at him as he walked through, but no one dared to approach, as they were frightened by him. He went right to the watering hole where the king's men were waiting to get him. But alas, no one recognized him, so no one went anywhere near him. After Uncle Rabbit had his fill of water, finally someone asked, "Who are you?" "I'm the King of Leaves," he answered, and then he slowly walked away. And that is how the rabbit got exactly what he said he would get. He was going to get all the water he wanted, and he was not going to leave. And that's the tale of the King of Leaves.
I can see why they're very Looney Tunes. It's very Looney Tunes logic.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, bugs would have something a bit more elaborate and complicated than this, but you can see where, like, this might have been, like, some of the original inspiration for a character like Bugs.
I'm still thinking about just covering yourself in honey and how gross that would feel.
Oh, so gross. And then to just cover yourselves in leaves afterwards, like, oh, no, thank you. I'm now wondering if it wasn't so much that people didn't recognize him, but they were just kind of mortified about what they were seeing.
Yeah, I'm not. They were like, he smells gross as well.
Yeah, it was probably just like, something terrible must have happened to him where you pity him so he can do what he wants now. You know, sometimes it's fun just to have silly folk tales and see what stories we got. And it does, like, it legit is kind of an interesting idea of, like, where we get inspiration from stories, whether it's, like, super deep and emotional stories of the prince and the princess or the silly rabbit story in the leaves.
I think animal tales make up some of the most, like, basic elements of all of the folklore. I mean, we did the Nigerian animal tales. We've done Filipino animal tales. I think we keep coming back to the animal stories because they're just so fun. And even though they appear quite simple, they have layers to them as well. Like with the earlier one, it's definitely, you know, the coyote could have just used his brain for half a second, but like, oh, I'm not actually holding anything up.
Yeah.
But it's that, like, that trickery of someone convincing you something, like with the Emperor's New Clothes, and we can always make these connections. But I really enjoy seeing the animal tales from different countries and seeing, you know, who do they consider the trickster animal? Who do they consider worthy of being in a story and stuff like that? So no, I really enjoy that. And I like the Looney Tunes aspect of it.
I saw it at the beginning with Wile E. Coyote, and I couldn't unsee it after that, so I needed to bring that to all of you, so you guys could also enjoy this Looney Tunes style shenaniganery.
And with that, travelers, if you want to hear more from us, then you can find us on most social media sites like Instagram and Bluesky. We're under the podcast name, or you can find us at From Enchanted. However, if you are old school like Sparrow, then you can always email us at talesfromenchantforest@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your comments, questions, and suggestions.
And remember, there's always a place for you in the Enchanted Forest.